We have a lot to cover. One of the most expensive irons I've ever seen is in the shop. Lots of repairs. And we're going to talk about, adapters and trimming shafts. Next, on What's on My Drawers Golf Talk. Good afternoon, at least in my time. Welcome to What's My Drawers Golf Talk. Why is it called What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no exception. And it started out as a discussion of what was in the drawers of my shop, and it's expanded into we're talking about golf club repairs, golf club fittings, golf club reviews, and some other stuff in between. So let's get started. Number one is Kirk Cameron. He won the Honda Classic. Congratulations to him after a hiatus of 2015, I think is what they were talking about. It's been quite some time. Congrats to him. And so that we got that one going. Lots of work this week because, we've got lots of work this week. And we're going to start number one with Bob's putter. Bob is my golfing buddy, and I'm trying to work a ferrule here. Here we go. Bob's my buddy, and he is now a owner of a center shafted Makefield. He's had a heel shafted Makefield, but now he has a center shafted one, and it has the BGT shaft in it, and he did the same thing I did with it. I gave it to him without a grip, made tons of putts. I put the Koa tie grip on it from BJM Putter Grips, and that would be that one, except for it's upside down. But the Koa tie, and it's that teardrop shape that it has that particular putting style, and Bob does very, very well with it to the point where I just tell him, 30 and 40 footers, just pick it up. But when he gets inside 3 foot, he's got to putt it. We might change now that he's gone to a center shafted putter. So that was really cool. And as a shout out to the Makefield folks, they're coming out with some half moons. Well, they call them half moons. They're basically very large mallet and a small mallet, and they're curved in the back. And what's going to be cool about them going forward is they're going to have different hosels that you can put on them, from the S necks or the sway necks, whatever you want to call them, straight ins, and they'll have center shafteds. And they'll have, I saw a plumber's neck on a couple of them. So they're going to have a different neck. So for different styles of putting. And that's going to even make the fitting process even that much more intense. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're pretty excited about that one. All righty. Oh boy. We just got done with a tornado watch here. Storms are running through, so we've been kind of moving and shaking. Here, one of my faves, one of our favorite customers from Michigan, brought some Hogans. Brought some Ben Hogans, and you can tell they are of the older variety. Now, I show you this because all these Hogans did not have any paint fill in there. I did that for him. Only because they didn't have any paint fill in the number and the letter either. So I did that for him as well. And they look a little bit like, we put these shafts in them, which were the Neo 950s and the R-Flex. And we put the dry tack, I believe those are mid-size. It turned out looking pretty decent. And then we put them all together, and I gave him a special ferrule for that. And I had to pick up a club. And that's what they look like. So I gave him a special ferrule to kind of keep it closer to the original vibe of what was going on. And what you're looking at here is a 2 through the E and a sand wedge, which looked a lot like, there's the sand wedge and there's an E, and then there was the 5 that was missing the paint. And so that was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. I got to polish him up. Mr. Fetterman, if you're listening, I got to polish him up. I got to we put the good ferrules on them. Everything is aligned. It looks really, really good. And then he wanted me to bend them to a 2019, anyway, a much later loft and lie. And what was the very first one was extraordinarily flat, which was the 2-iron. And so I had to bend it up. But apparently that was not part of the set, or not touched, as the case may be. And the rest of them were extraordinarily upright, and up to the point of almost 4 degrees. Being in, like, the E was somewhere at 68. That's a lot of upright, even for those. Now, why do I mention that? Because at 4 degrees upright and bending something that looks a lot like those, that's chrome. And you see how you got a lot of these. If you look really, really close, they look like there's a lot of these lines that looks like it's been beat up, right? And that's from wear. There's the stuff that's going on there. However, chrome can do what's called spider webbing. And if you've seen it on, like, classic car bumpers, where it just is like, it looks like lightning and it just strings out. Same thing can happen on a iron when you bend too much, because the chrome, albeit very thin, is not one of those that likes to be bent a lot. So that you can bend it and get too far, get to its extreme, and it'll go, and it's an ugly sound. And it goes like that, and it'll go straight down through it. And what that does is that it basically cracks the chrome. And when you crack the chrome, you allow water, moisture, fertilizer, there's the word I was looking for, fertilizer, and things that get in these crevices and start the corrosion process, and it eats the club away. So what Mr. Fetterman found here was a very, very nice set of irons in extraordinarily good shape. There's only one, maybe 2 irons even look like they've been hit quite a bit. So he did really well. So we made them so that they're an inch over, and for being an inch over at using a 95 gram shaft and that grip, it was surprising that they weren't as heavy as they came out. And so the 2-iron was a little bit light, which is okay for a 2-iron. And then the 3 down was within the 3 through the 3 through the E, or 3 through the 9 were pretty much all about the same. And then the E and the sand wedge were heavier, and as expected. So not too bad at all. The second job that I had to do during this was reshaft, or extending some irons, and they were older irons, and you could tell they were older irons because the tape was brown. Normally, if that means that the grip has been on there a while, has been exposed to the elements, and the tape is this dusty type of stuff. And so when you go to do that, that means the inside of the shaft has got a lot of corrosion in it. And in order for the glue to stick, you got to clean that stuff out. So I get a very large pipe fitting, or pipe cleaner. It's like I think it's a 1/2 inch, maybe even bigger, a 3/4 inch. And I run it inside and I run it back out. Now, if you want to go faster, you just clip the handle off, put it in a drill, and away you go. But I ran that in there, got it loosened up, and then I took my regular drill and just took my regular brush and put it around there, and it cleaned it up. You went from looking at brown to looking at metal again. And this was just a sampling of the crud that came out of I think it was like 2 or 3 shafts. That's a lot of crud that comes out of a shaft. And what that is telling you that the inside of that shaft is corroding. And, inevitably it's going to fail. Is it going to fail right now? No, but it's coming. So you want to, you guys hang on to these older clubs, and those are great, particularly as wall items. But when it comes to a point where you're starting to see pecking or, plotting of the chrome where it looks like it's rusting, that's telling you you're getting close. And just from a safety perspective, the last thing you want to do is hit a ball and watch 3/4 of your club go flying down there, because the other half might come back around and stab you right in the back. So you want to be careful with that one. All righty, so we got that one done, and then we did another set of Mizunos. And these are the Mizuno, I believe, these are Mizuno high launches. A golfer called for them specifically, and I believe he was in California. And we put the recoiled darts in them, and it turned out really good. I was really happy with them. And to give it a really clean look, we put the Star Pro models, the gray ones. And those are really good. So the Star grips we've been using quite a bit with. Very nice and very sticky. So if you're in those sticky environments, you might want to give these things a shout. And they come in multiple colors: grays, blacks, whites, reds, blues, some pinks, some greens. If you're a color-oriented type person.
Arizona Sidewinders.
Oh, Arizona and Sidewinders. There you go. And there you go. So we have that. And before we move on to what we're working on here, I want to show you that, well, we did some ribs. That was a rib, and this was beforehand. That's the brown sugar, some butter, and some barbecue sauce. And then that's what it looks like afterwards. So there, you know what I was saying about the other? There it is. All righty. So in the shop still, we did a fitting for a young man in Kentucky, and the dude can hit the ball. He can literally hit the ball, and we got him into a set of Mizuno JPX Forge. That was that last video I did. Speaking of videos, like, subscribe, hit that bell down below, and that way you get more of the videos when they drop, and that way more of this message gets out to, the internet land, so more folks can see this stuff. Anyway, forged, one piece with a badging on the back, and he he swung the club pretty strong. All right, pretty strong. So we put Mizuno 125s in here, and in the X Flex. All right, and the 125s are pretty stout in their own right, but the X Flex just really kept him on target. It was really kind of funny. He swung just barely into, so this is where fitting comes into a point. He did swing in the X Flex range, but because you swing fast does not necessarily mean that you need an X Flex. All right, sounds kind of funny that way, but there's a lot of conditions, whether or not how you load the club, how you bring it up, how you get right here, how you pull down, and then how you release.
It's Jeremiah from Piketon, and he's on there.
All right, Jeremiah. I thought he was in Kentucky.
No.
All right.
That guy was from Kentucky. This was a week out.
Oh, so she's got me throwing around, just putting stuff together when it shows up, so it's not my fault. Jeremiah, if you're watching, here's your clubs, man. And we got to finish the ferrules, and we got to cut them. But these things turned out really, really good. I am really happy with those. And we got a set. Anyway, back to it. So because you swing in the X-Flex range doesn't necessarily mean you need to be there. Why is that? Because you could be extraordinarily smooth, like Ernie Els kind of, Tai Chi on golf kind of smooth, and not load the shaft, and the X-Flex would be too much. Then you could be just the other end of the spectrum and be Nick Price Zorro with a golf club and actually need more than what your swing speed would tell you. Well, it turns out Jeremiah, he gets down in there and he gets right to here, and it gets right to about here, and then just loads it up. And after about a dozen swings, you can start picking it up. And as soon as we did that, his landing spot shifted from inside or outside to the middle, and he was hitting it with a high smash factor. So yeah, it was working very, very well. So we like that one for him. All righty. And then Robin has been working with a friend, and we now have the RTX6, the Cleveland RTX6 black. It's left-handed. Yes, it is. Guess who gets to hit this? Anyway, we're putting the zone shaft in it. we're putting the zone shaft in it, and we got a 56 and this is a 52, and I believe the other one's a 56. Whatever we were looking for, we got it. And we just made it. We murdered it out. It's got a nice black ferrule on it, right? And we got that. It's going to be a good looking wedge. I think it's going to be very, very nice. So we got that one. And once we get them all put together, yes, I am going to hit them with his permission. So thank you so very much. Okay. Now, I have only heard of these particular irons, and for those of you that might be club aficionados, this is it's very, very close to a Holy Grail kind of club. And the gentleman brought it in. He's from Cincinnati. We did some work for him, and we made him some zone shaft wedges that just everybody was just loving those. Anyway, he's a Mura fan, and he is somehow I would call him a collector, but he's also a very, very good golfer in his own right, and he's in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, and the dude's got game. And he comes at me with this big black box with a golden bear on the end of it, or in the middle of it. And I'm like, oh no. And he shows up with those. Can you believe this? Nicklaus Mura irons to the exact specs, so I am told, the exact specs of when he won the Masters. All right. Now, this came, I don't want to say I don't believe him, but I just don't see Nicklaus playing Nippon 950s, although he very well may have, you never know. Nippon 950s, and then, of course, the Golf Pride Tour Velvets, and in the standard, I believe. BCTs, yep. Buff corded, and he's got this. And these things, he was telling me he was on there on eBay, and the first set went for 10 grand. These guys, the middle, on average, I guess between $4,000 and $5,000. And he's got a whole set. And he comes in and says, I want you to reshaft those. I'm like, what? What do you want me to do that for? Why would I even want to do that? He goes, well, because I'm going to play them. He says, I've already played them. I said, I looked at every one of them. I said, it doesn't look like it. He says, yep, went out with his instructor and in very high winds, ended up shooting. He birdied the first 4 holes playing in very high winds with these things. And again, my question would be, why do you want me to reshaft these? Because we're not going to ruin them, to be sure. We're going to do our best to keep them looking original, but it's not going to be as the reason why not all spec. But he's going to play them. I'm like, okay. And I told him, I said, hey, he says, when I saw the Golden Bear, I said it was either one of two things. It was either going to be the VIP tourneys, of which his answer was he's got about 5 or 6 of those sets down in the basement, or it's going to be those. I said, okay. So guess what? We're doing a video on reshafting probably the most expensive set of clubs I've ever seen. And so if you guys got any ideas on what you'd like to see when I'm taking this thing apart, like here's the shaft leg logo. Look at this thing. There's the Mura logo. There's the Jack Nicklaus logo. And see if we can't cover it. Because wow. I'm just, number one, thanks for, thinking I can do this without messing up your clubs. That's awesome. And 2, hopefully that you can play them better than when we put these other shafts in it. So we're going to go from there. Okay. Another request was put out there. Robin took a phone call, and a guy asked, look at that. A guy asked for me to talk about adapters. Okay, adapters. And adapters come in several forms. And like this one's a Srixon. All right, and you can see there's a whole lot going on here. All right, there we go. There's a whole lot going on. And there's a lot of half moons going on there. And in order for you to have a truckload of adjustability. All right. This one is a Mizuno. And you can see it comes with a metal ferrule, although you don't normally wouldn't put anything, but I guess you could if you wanted to. And it's got its half moons up in here so that it starts out at, if I read this correctly, starts at standard +1, +2, 1 up, 3 up, 1 up again, and then it starts going down. So we have that one. And then you have a different kind in the Callaway. And there's the Callaway, and these are cogs, so it'll sit in the head like that, just so you understand. All right, everybody's seen that. So, and what happens to adjust lofts and lie is nothing more than spinning these cogs into a set where the line is at and making sure that line matches in the head. In this particular one, wherever this, you'll have these numbers, and it will go into the back, and there very well may be a line in the back, there may not, but it's always in the back. You're always looking at it from the back. And then the same thing with that one, right? Always in the back. All right, so that was easy enough. Now, the reason why you can adjust this, and this one's probably the best one to disguise it, but when you look at it, it's off center. And if it turns, this is just off center. And when it does that, it turns the head. Same thing with this one, same thing with TaylorMade, and same thing with Titleist, except for they have one cog that adjusts the one of the specifications. Callaway uses two, so that it always stays, the shaft orientation is always the same. Now, the real reason why you wanted me to talk to you about this is there is such things as a left-handed cog, or a left-handed adapter. Now, for Callaway, it gives it away by putting a line underneath of it. And I'll show you because I have one here. If you look, I can't show you on this one. Oh, it's because this is a right-handed cog. Anyway, on the lines, on these guys right here, there'll be a line underneath of it. Okay, there'll be a line underneath of it, and that differentiates the fact that that's a left-handed cog. These other ones may say LH on them. The other ones may have a line under them as well. They all differentiate just a little bit. Now, at the standard mark, the standard neutral, or at the standard loft, or the zero mark, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same. You can put them in there left-handed, right-handed, they'll be all the same. It's when you start going to adjust them, that's when things start getting a little hairy. And in most cases, I'm going to say with most cases because I've not done them all, that it's just the opposite. So if it said 1 up, chances are you're being 1 down. All right. And just vice versa. Sometimes it's to the extreme. You could be, instead of 1 up, you could be 3 down. And as it clocks around, okay, it could be that. They're different ones. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're buying the right adapter for your driver, being right and left-handed. Now that takes me into the next piece, and then we're going to move on, is that I got a set of these guys. Look at that. Ping eyes. Look how nice this is. The Ping Eye 3 with that. And it comes with those adapters in it. And I got to pull one, and I got to clean that one out, and we got to put some more clubs back together. So if you want to see something on that, anything in particular, put that down in the notes and let me know so I can cover it in the next video. Woo! Okay, so we got through. That was a lot. We really talked about quite a bit. All right, let's go talk and see what's out front here. And we're going to keep going. There we go. Stephen Polsky, what do you say, buddy? Question about tip and driver shafts. How much needs to be taken off to change the flex? All right, so Stephen asked me the question on the email, and he's got a Fuji Ventus TR. All right, now, and it's very stiff. TRs are very stout, and they come with a 3-inch tip section. So what the concern here is is that at least 1.25 inches of that is going to be ate up by putting it into the adapter of any kind. So now you'll really only have 2 3/4 inches to work with before it's not going to work like it's, and it's even less than that. But so you get where I'm going. So you only have that much to work with. Now, in order to change the flex on these things, you only have to trim them 1/2 inch, and they're going to get really, really stout, really, really fast. On other ones that would have 4, maybe 5 inches, then you could get away with about 1 inch to doing the same thing. But in this particular case, Stephen, just about 1/2 inch is all you need, and it'll take care of anything that you need to do. All righty. Matt Revlock, shot 73, my only round of the week. Question, what, 73? Man. All right. Question, describe the changes to your bag. 2023, Jim, what are your goals this year? Oh, man, you're doing it to me again. Well, my goal is always to shoot better. One day I'm going to beat you, but I doubt it. You never know. We actually got to play more. I'd like to play more this year is what I'd like to do. I think what I'm going to see, I'm most likely, because I am in line with Callaway, I'm probably going to change from the Rogue to the Paradigm. And we're going to see whether or not I'm going to use the pink shaft or I'm going to use my current gamer, because we got another guy gave me one of these to check out, which I have yet to do, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The putter's going to stay, the wedges are going to stay, the hybrids are going to stay, and so I'm looking at whether or not I want to change irons, and the driver is going to change. So that's where that's at. Actually, what's changing in my bag is very well maybe the bag. The one I got's looking pretty. This guy right here, he's looking pretty ragged. He's been around for quite some time. He's done a great job. He's starting to get a little frayed and a little. I've cleaned him off about as much as he can be cleaned off. The new model to this, where all that's white, is gray, and it's kind of like this battleship gray color. I kind of like it. We're going to see whether or not that works or not. Frank Powell, what do you say, sir? Manuel and the rest of the golf gurus, here we go. If you could please share your max length to extend a shaft and why, graphite and steel, thank you. Okay, I got that. Charlie Dalmore, number 12. Alrighty, so what Emmanuel is asking is extending a shaft, since we talked about it. So, there's steel shafts, there's graphite shafts. In the day, what you would do is you would take pieces of old shaft and you would jam them in there and extend them and ensure, or at least hopefully ensure, that there was a lot of mating surface. So when you glued it, it would stick and it wouldn't pop out. Now, even before that, they used wooden dowels. All right, you would take wooden dowels and you would shape them to the inside of the shaft, particularly steel. This is in the steel era. Inside the steel, and you would shape them, and then you would glue them or just press them in, and then you would sand the rest of the dowel so it fit the exterior of the shaft, and then you would cut it. That was a lot of work. Anyway, so now what they have is you can buy extensions. You can buy steel extensions, particularly for steel, and you can buy graphite extensions, which are typically a really firm plastic. And there's several varieties now that go into graphite. Now, the inside, the butt diameter can change. So you have to know what size to put in where. You don't want it wobbling around. That's just like putting a 355 into a 370. It wobbles around. We don't want that. So if you have a 620 butt and you have a 600 extension, it's going to warble around, and no amount of glue is going to take that up. You want the right in there, okay? Now, sometimes that it doesn't matter what you've got and they're still kind of loose. What I would suggest is maybe a piece. I use masking tape, and the reason why I use masking tape is because it's porous. and the masking tape is porous so the glue can get through there and grab both sides and create this really firm, really tight fit so that it holds and the glue gets through there and holds both sides. So far, so good. And then the same thing goes for the graphite or the plastic piece. Now, sometimes the inserts that go into the back of the club, we'll just use this, that will go into the back here, are too big, and you have to sand them down to fit. And I've done that plenty of time as well as also. All right, so they both insert about an inch and a half, right? Inch and a half to an inch and 3/4 tops. And in most cases, what I don't like going beyond is my standard is an inch. I will go out to an inch and a half based on where I see the golfer might be gripping, and I try not go that much on irons and drivers, an inch and a half. Now on putters, I would go much longer because there's no torque involved. So the reason being, and I'm going to use the Nicklaus club, that when you grab here and you look at this and you extended it right to here, so you're moving a joint that's right in the middle of your hand. And if you're a regripper, you're just really, really hammering that joint, and you're just asking for it to fail. So when you have it long and it gets longer, and now it's taking up this much of your hand, and this much is the only piece that's part of the original shaft, it's going to break. Okay, it's just going to break. And so that's the reason why I keep it smaller. Now, the other side of the story is, some guys are like, well, can I use steel and graphite? The answer to that is yes, you can. However, there's a flare at the bottom of these steel inserts, and they can act like a saw, and it will cut the graphite, and you'll get a failure of the shaft that way. That's the reason why I don't like doing it. Again, can you sand it off? Yes, but you never truly get rid of the flare. And can you put the graphites into the steel? Yes, you can. But the fit is never just as precise as it is with the steel ones. So there it is. Hopefully that helps, bud. Woo! Paul Van Vliet. Hey, buddy, getting out Wednesday. Nice. Let us know how you did. All right, Henry, what's the best way to reach you for potential club work? Email or a phone call. Email mcgolfshop@roadrunner.com, mcgolfshop@roadrunner.com, or clubmaker@mcgolf.net. And I'm sure Mrs. McGolf down here is talking to you already. But yeah, that's where you want to go. Henry, oh, he's from Texas. Okay. There's Justin. What do you say, bud? Glad you're making it on. Peter, what do you say? Look, we got a new logo here. What are we eating? What is that? It looks tasty. I'm not sure what it is, but it looks tasty. Well done, bud. All right. So we're making a trip to Destin in April, and Bob and I are big fans of chicken and waffles, and we found a place called the Donut Hole that's going to serve chicken and waffles. So there is going to be a visit in our future for that place. All right, Charlie, what do you say, sir? There's the Delmore to you. Salute. All right. Hope all is well. Payne is heading down. Very good. Very good. David Hanner, hi from the UK. What do you say, sir? Thanks for staying up so late. Well, our putter lengths usually measured differently to irons. Had two 35-inch putters sent, and both are 34-inch off my golf club ruler and too short for player. I don't think so. Now, in the day, now this is history, but as I'm told, Ping, just to be different, used to measure from the very top of the putter and then measured up. I think they just did that to mess with the rest of the companies. However, when you measure and you're using your ruler, I'm going to take this off here. When you measure and you're measuring with the ruler, of course, the ruler runs the length of the shaft, right? And on a putter, it can go in and it bends and all that stuff, but it still runs the back, and it's still going to go straight, and it's still going to come down to here. Still come down to here. And whatever that is, and it's measured to the shoulder. That's where I've always been taught, is the shoulder, not necessarily the top, but the shoulder. And right where the edge is at. And that would be it. So somebody may have had a bad day. And not done it, and they very well may have measured it incorrectly. I would, depending on wherever you 35-inch putter sent in. So whoever sent them into, I'd check them out again and ask them what the heck's going on. All righty, hello golf people. Expensive golf clubs. Just talked to a client of mine. And ahead that a big name fitter up here is charging $900 for 3 wedges with a DG 400 and tour wraps. Oh my, that's what you call some serious wedging. That's a lot. If you can get it, I guess, but okay. Nice job on the Hogans. Thank you, Manuel. Yeah, he sent me some of those before, and we put it to the polisher, although it didn't need a lot. It was already in pretty good shape. There's no way I was going to be able to smooth out all those little striations that were in the chrome, but we polished them up real clean, and the faces were in really, really good shape. And I was just surprised how soft they bent. You want to talk about butter knives, man? That 2-iron, gee, many Christmas. I've seen forks bigger than that thing, but he's got game, man. He can play. Any experience in the USTA all new one putter shaft? All one new putter shaft. David, I can't say that I have. I don't even know if this is any different than the one, because they came out with one that was all graphite, had a transition piece, and went into steel. Everybody looked at it like they were crazy, and now look at us. If they only knew now what they knew then, they'd have been ahead of it and been owning that sector. Thank you, Charlie. Yes, they did turn out very, very well. They look really in line, really in order, and very good. And the person we made him for is an engineer, so that he's very, very, very straight and to the point. All right, past my prime. What do you say? Looking to be around a Wednesday, possible 60 plus with a little wind. Nice, well done, sir. So we had tornado warnings here, and of course that's just the weather. This weekend has been. I'm going to share a little bit. This is Jim Share. I need a fireplace going in the background now. Friday, I was getting ready to bend a set of clubs, and Robin's standing next to me, and my back went out. And you hear this pop, and next thing I know, I'm bent over. I'm like, what was that? So after we sat down, and I kind of relaxed a little bit, powered through it, got the work done, and was able to schedule a chiropractor. Long story short is, the very last thing he did when he they bend you and they push you and everything, and the very last thing he pushes down, and I hear this, and from my butt all the way up to my neck, everything just went right back in line. I was like, what did you do? He says, whatever I did, you're going to be sore in the morning, so don't go crazy. And he was right, and I didn't, and now I'm able to swing again. Here it is 2 days later. So thank you very much, Dr. Brandon. And then Saturday, our refrigerator decides to give up the ghost. And as we figure out, you don't get told about refrigerator dying until it's dead. And reached in there and was like, hey, did you notice that this is not getting cold? No. And next thing you know, we're emptying the refrigerator, and Sunday we bought one, and it was supposed to be delivered today, and it got delivered with a ginormous dent on the side. And after Mrs. McGolf arm wrestling the people that we bought it from, and one of the questions is, do you still want the refrigerator? Well, yeah, kind of ordered one, kind of want to have one. I mean, what kind of question is that? But anyway, we're going to get one and should be good to go. All righty. So there's Jim's weekend in a nutshell, other than barbecue and the ribs. All righty. P-Funk Chang. All right. Half-inch length affects dynamic lie by 0.5 degree. You are correct, sir. Half an inch, half a degree. You are correct. They do look good, bud. He made a good-looking club. Let's see it. Danny Freeman, what do you say, sir? Those Apex clubs were good back in the day. I have a set from 56. Set of 56 Dynapower irons. That were my first clubs. I paid $2 an iron. Yeah. Now, those Dynapowers, they're in the same league, right? In fact, I think the Dynapowers are a little bit before them. But, yeah, good for them. That's awesome. Yeah, there we go. I chose a set of Founders Clubs over Ben Hogan for my first set. Still regret the decision. I used the Founders Club for around 12 years. Well, Founders weren't bad. All right, Faz 889. What do we got here? What is that? Twist Face. Okay. Thanks for the content. You are welcome. Bought AMT red steel shafts. All right. They are 1/4 of an inch short. Is there anything which I can put in the hosel to make them a 1/4 inch longer? Well, so here's the thing. Before you want to go do that, number one, when you go put the grip on, you're basically going to add that number. So if you're looking for, let's just say for a 5-iron, you're looking for 38 inches, and it's a 37 3/4 inch shaft when it's all put together. You're measuring it, sitting in your gauge, measures here, you're right. You get to here without the grip on it, and it's 37 3/4. Okay. When you go to put that grip on, you see this little extra piece. This is the extra amount you're going to get. So you very well may get to 38 inches without doing a thing. Okay? Without doing a thing. Now, if they're even shorter still, and when you put them together, they would still be short, then the extensions that we were just talking about would be perfect. You extend them in, put that and cut them down to that 1/4 of an inch, and away you go. And those things, I wouldn't sweat those things coming out for anybody, because it's more being glued than there is being used, and I would use those. And you just got to make sure, measure the butt, and then and order them. You know, a lot of places have them. I would imagine Golf Works would be the number one if you're around this area. Golf Shafts America probably has them. Billy Bob's has them if you're on the West Coast, or whatever supplier that's out there. I'm not familiar with them all, but something like that. They're a fairly common club building item. So I think you could be able to find them in a lot of different places. I would probably be able to find them in the local Golf Galaxy, even if you're close enough. All right, Matt's going to email us with date. And all right. Phil K. from Austin. Weather bad there? Yeah. There was high winds, tornadoes, rain, and still in the mid-60s. Can you believe that? And it's supposed to be okay tomorrow, I think. And then by the weekend, when we can all go do stuff, it's supposed to drop down into the 40s. All righty. Back when I was a younger man, I played the Hogan PCs. There you go. The Hogan, man, I tell you what, Hogan was the dude. You know, a lot of people don't know, but the Hogan, you know, the whole thing for the hybrid. You know, we can thank Mr. Hogan for that one. He had, when he passed, they found some Hogan designs of his, and that's what we're seeing as the modern day hybrid, and that's where it got started. A lot of it. Now, it was basically an imitation of an old Clique, but he's the one. All right. Frugal Fixer Golf and Guitars. There you go. What's this say? Spikes Frugal Fixer. There you go. Very well. How you doing? Jeremiah. There we go. Thanks for the fitting last weekend. I've been watching a lot of the videos. Very good. Appreciate it. All righty. As I just dropped my most expensive iron. The shafts we put in there, Charlie, were the Nippons or Nippons, the Neo 950 GH R flexes. And we soft stepped them a little bit too. At least I tried. And in order for him to get be able to bring the club around. So that was pretty good for him. Dylan Quinton, hello all. There you go, sir. Hello. Danny Freeman, I love to tinker with golf club building. I would love to see a video on frequency matching, tipping, and weighting a set of clubs. Why you did what you do. All right. Well, maybe we'll take a look at that. So we'll see about the frequency matching. I've yet to take them apart, so we'll see what happens from there. So there you go. All righty. And I did one on doing frequency matching. It's in the library somewhere. What's for dessert? Ooh-wee. Well, you know what? We went to the Olive Garden the other day, and we ordered that. It was called the brownie lasagna. Dang, dude, thing's this big, and it's that thick. And Robin and I share one, so we got it not too long ago. So we've been sharing this dessert for every night. So tonight's the first night we don't have anything. I'm not sure yet. Faz is saying hi to Robin. Danny's saying, hey, hit the like button. I like that idea. Brian P., what do you say, man? My friends play a lefty R9 driver with a 70-gram stiff shaft in it. Okay. I'm trying to help his endless slice. I gave him a Tennessee Blue 60R, but he really needs more. Offset head recommendations. Okay. So the first thing I would ask Brian is whether or not he's playing a stock length or not. And the easiest way to relate this to a golfer is baseball. If you were a baseball player and you just could not bring the club or the bat around, so if you're a righty, everything went to the right of the pitcher, went into right field, right center, just could not get it down the middle. The coach would always give you the signal of, right, choke up, make the bat shorter so you can bring it around. And the same thing's true with golf. All right, you need the proper golf length so that you can be consistent. Assuming that that it's longer, by what you did there is not a bad idea at all. But choking down and start at about, start about 3/4 of an inch and just see what happens. And just don't do it once, right? Don't do it once. Do it at least a dozen times, because the first couple of times it's going to feel odd. And when it feels odd, you're not going to put good swings on it. And then once you get used to it, all of a sudden it starts smoothing out, and you can see if whether or not that's the issue. Another thing that you might be able to help him out with the R9 is before you start going to a different spot is placement of lead tape, and you put it near the heel so it helps him want to close the face. And I'd try about 3 strips about this long, about 3 or 4 inches long, and just put it along the trailing edge on the heel, like right about here. All right, and just put it right about there. And if he doesn't like it, he can always take it off. And there you go. Now, if that doesn't happen, lately here as of night, and you can upgrade because the R9 is dated to be sure. The drivers that they're making now, and everybody makes one, Mizuno, Srixon, Titleist, Ping, Callaway, they all make one, right? Wilson's making one now. They all make this. They call them an X driver or a draw bias driver or something along that lines, in which case the weight's been moved. And I'd show you one. I just don't have one with me. Anyway, what happens is, we'll use this one. So what happens is that there'll be a lot of weight removed in this particular area, and the metal will still be here. Or you'll see a weight down in this area. And it sits about 1 degree closed, or even 2 degrees closed. And you can do that. And that would be a slice eliminator. Now, as I'm telling you this, there is one out there. And if you don't want to do any of that, the Wilson launch pad. All right, the Wilson launch pad is a slice corrector. That thing sits like this. It's got a little bit of offset in it. It's a nice looking head too, and I would go with that. So there's plenty to choose from. All right. There's Dylan again. Question. I'm looking to purchase an iron binding machine. I imagine that's bending machine. Do you know if that stuff from Golfworks is worth the money? Thanks. Okay. So Dylan, Golfworks offers a bunch of different models. If you are just tinkering for you, right? Just tinkering for you. And what I mean is you're only going to bend for you, and you're not going to try and make a lot of money or any money on this. Their most basic bending machine will get the job done with a bending bar. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have to buy a base, so it's very solid. And all this thing is a big, giant clamp, and you're going to have to learn bending the hard way. And that's all it's going to do. And then you pull it out and put it in a gauge and set it down. Very, very, very time consuming. However, it gets the job done. That's the reason why I say just for you. Now, if you're planning on doing this for you, friends, starting a business, doing a hobbyist kind of thing, certainly would not recommend that. They have the one that looks like the old Scotland's or a difference of the True Blues, of which they have one and the golf mechanics have one. And they're almost identical. So they look like they're built like this. And you can adjust this in order to, this arm stays, and when you adjust this moves this way, and then you latch it in. Those are for getting started, and it will last you for a while. Don't get me wrong. When I mean a while, I mean years. It will last you long enough for you to determine whether or not you want to keep bending clubs. And the trick truly is in not necessarily the machine. The reason why the machines are cool is because they stay locked in, and then they have ways to measure them while they're sitting in the jig. That's the important part. The most important part to a bending machine is the actual bending bar. All right, the bending bar. And I was lucky enough when I bought mine from Mitchell, it had the adjustment so that the end of the bar would fit to the end of the hosel. And that's what we had. And they don't make that kind of stuff anymore. And I ended up buying another one years and years and years ago for shorter hosels. And it's coming to the point where I'm going to have to start using it because my other one is starting to get kind of, I've bent so many clubs since then that the end of the metal is starting to mushroom a little bit. So, the cool part about it is it doesn't mar the hosels. So it's still, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen the other. Now what they normally have are these fixed ones, and they look like this. And you go and you clip them in, and then you hook them, and then you bend them down. Those are okay. They're not as good as the kind that move, but they work. But you want to get a good bending bar, because the last thing you want to do is knuckle up one of your hosels and be denting them every time you have to bend them. So hopefully that worked out. That helped you out. All righty. Yep, Frank. Those black ones, those are yours, buddy. All right, past my prime. I use Mitchell Golf repair form, and a column is for face angle. Other than noting the driver setting D2, do you ever need to deal with face angle in repair work? When it comes to drivers, no, because number one, you can't change them anymore. In the day when drivers were steel and they had all kinds of hosel in them, yeah, you could put them in those Mitchell bending machines that were for woods and grab them and bend them. You can still do them with some with Sean heads now, but not that. But there was some concern in that sometimes you would get an iron that would set closed. And it would just look closed at address, one way or to another. It would look closed at address. And how could you take that out? And normally the answer is no. I've seen guys where they try and grab it. Hold on a minute. Where this will look here course, this is not going to look closed one iota because it's a Nicklaus club, but it'll sit and it'll look like that's square, and it'll look like that at address, no matter how you set it. And that's more about where the golfer was lying it on the ground than it was the actual club itself. And you see these guys, they're clamping onto here, and they're trying to bend this club this way. I don't know how you're doing it with just one. I don't know how you accomplish that with just one bending iron or one bending bar. And I don't know how you would do it without really mangling the head. Now, I have when I was up there in Columbus, I got shown how to put a offset into a wedge, and when they showed me, I was dumbfounded on how they did it. But they did it. Now, does that mean you can do it on every wedge? Absolutely not. Because there was some extreme bending going on. You were pulling it down, holding on to it, and then pulling it back like that. And my first question is, why would you do that? And he says a lot of the old-time golfers liked it that way. Okay. So it was a skill set that I know about, but I've yet to use because I don't think that I'm ever going to come into it. But I know how to do it now. All righty. They're awesome looking clubs. What are their specs? You know what? There is a sheet in there, and they tell you what they are. But I measured one, and it was kind of funny. This actually, with this 95-gram shaft in it, measures out into the Ds. This thing feels firmer than the standard club. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know. Maybe you got a special set. Jim Cavaleras. After knee replacement, I was taller, not a lot, so I adjusted my lie from 2 degrees flat to 1. Should I leave my wedges at 2 degrees? No, that's Jim. That's a personal, particular question, and I don't mean to be funny about it. But typically I would go with the same. There is that thing out there where wedges tend to stay a little flatter than your irons. I've heard that tell, but I have yet to see. I hear it and I understand it. And if you're one of those guys that takes sweeper motions with your wedges, then yes. If you're one of those guys that takes a normal swing and you're kind of manipulating how far back you go and you're still coming through, then no, it needs to be the same. They are pretty damn cool, man. I got to admit. Henry Monster, what are your general thoughts on heavier wedge shafts and furthermore matching your iron shafts to your wedges? 925. I am intrigued. Well, if you watch what we had Verska in here from Callaway, and he's their fitting guy. He likes the same or even a little bit lighter. And I found that to be kind of curious because he's not from that era of people that would do that. But it could have been that he's seen some data and it works. Personally, I tend to like my wedge shafts the same weight or heavier. Okay, and I prefer heavier if I can get it. Sometimes you just can't. However, in this particular instance with this Nippons for Jeremiah, if he was to get them, I would recommend. I've got 130 wedge shafts, 130-gram wedge shafts, and that's to keep the feel in the same category, and that's where I would go with that one. Without going too expensive, because we could go BGT and they got one that's heavier and it would make it feel that way as well. Oh, and I will say this, Henry. With hitting wedge shafts, we did hit. I brought Mark in here, Mark Danneberger, and he's the young guy that I've had on the videos. Just hits the ball a country mile, and he wanted to go through a wedge fitting because I had mentioned something to him in a wedge, and he's just now starting to get around to thinking about it. And he says, "I want to try some wedges." So we tried some wedges, and we settled on some Mizunos in the denim copper. He is. And when he gets things, he keeps them pretty decent, except for putters, and he's going to laugh if he's watching this. Anyway, Project X Project X has got 3 new wedges, a 5.5, a 6.0, and a 6.5. And it's amazing the difference between the three. And the reason why I say that is Mark is a fairly aggressive golfer. But when you're talking about wedges, it's a different animal altogether in a lot of cases. But I went with the flow, and I had him hit I put the 6.5 in with a Mizuno wedge. Now, mind you, all his shots were going off to the right. Okay, they were going off to the right, and as he was hitting, including his own, mostly his own, I would give him something a little less flat, and I gave him all this extra stiffness, or even it was a little bit heavier, and he started just absolutely drilling the center. So, and he said he was always leaving the club off to the right. So, well, here we go. He's getting the distance he's wanting. Half swings, quarter swings. He's getting just tons of spin off the club. I'm like, well, man, we're hitting it out of the park. Then I said, well, what do you think about a full swing club? Because he wanted a 50-degree wedge. And he says, that's a little bit stout for that one. So we put a 6.0 in there and let him play around with it. And he said the feel was significantly different. All right, significantly different in that he could feel the shaft giving a little bit and kicking, but he was throwing it out there. So what we settled on was 6.0s in the 50 and the 56, and different grinds, by the way, and then the 6.5 in the lob wedge with yet a different grind in order to do the different things we were looking at. So it wasn't too bad, right? We were really happy with that. So that's what I know that's a story, but that's where I was going with it. All right. Beer and Nicklaus brands fall under the same umbrella company. Those are the ones off limited edition, crazy premium and expensive. There you go. All right, when we go to do the video on it, we'll put that in there. That's worthy. Oh yeah, you know that's going to be on there. Joe Milner, what do you say, bud? What do we got here in the background? Nice house. Hey there. Okay. How do you feel about working at a big box retailer to learn, aka Golf Galaxy? Well, Joe, if you're actually learning, I don't see where anything is bad, right? There, like every other big box retailer, there's always good places and bad places, and Golf Galaxy gets their training from GolfWorks, and GolfWorks does a pretty good job if you can get into the classes, because they're all one company. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's not a problem. All right. There you go. Yep, we talked about that one. Peter, dude. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I really, really do. And I just think that's amazing that somebody would do that for me and for what we're doing here. And I truly, truly do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Hey, look, he's back. Been a while since been able to make it. Hope you've been doing good. Hopefully you have not been going on runs that require your needed assistance. Don Irving, what do you say, bud? Has been a while. Have a set of stealth irons with the Venice 5 through the 8 shafts, and I have had a hard time getting any height. Is there an aftermarket shaft that can help? Okay, so the Venice shaft's a nice shaft, to be sure. It's actually a much better driver shaft than it is an iron. And there's the one with a Velocore, which is the aftermarket one. The one without the Velocore is the one you tend to see in all the OEMs. Now, what's the difference? It's the internal workings of the shaft. And what that comes right down to, I can't tell you because I haven't really researched it. I just know that they do something different to the inside. Okay. So what makes, when we're talking about stealth irons, okay, stealth irons are much like a lot of the game improvers with a lot of weight in the bottom to get the ball in the air, okay, to get the ball in the air. They are already designed to do that. The shaft can help you get the airborne, but it is not the reason why. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, the Ventus, it depends. If you have a Ventus S in there, in your shafts, and you're an R or even an A flex guy, then that makes all kinds of sense. You could go get the Ventus in the A or the appropriate one, and you'll probably see a massive ball flight change. That's what I would look at first. Make sure you're in the right flex category. Then I would look in the right weight category to make sure that it's causing you to release at the ball, not hooded down so you're hitting the stinger, or that you're hitting way up so that you hit him so much airborne. And weight, the total weight, can do that for you. So that's what I would look at. So take a hard look at where you're hitting them. If you're trapping the ball and you're hitting it high on the face, that could be an indication, again, of the improper length. And because in stealth and most graphite shafted irons are normally made to a half of an inch longer, right? They're not made to the normal steel. So first and foremost, you very well may just want to choke down a half of an inch, give them a go, and then see what happens. And then try the flex and stuff that way. Thank you. Also, the Paradigm Triple Diamond is the bomb. There we go. Manuel has game and has ball striking skills to be using the Triple Diamond. That thing sits wide open. It's a good-looking club, but you better bring that thing around. Otherwise, it will penalize you greatly. But that's what it's for. It is a ball striker's driver. Alan, the big A, what do you say, buddy? I start my captain's role on Wednesday. Nice. Glad to see that. Looking forward to see you in Ireland soon. Big Al from Dublin. Nicely done, Alan. I know being a captain, that's actually a fairly important thing, right? In studying the history, being selected as a captain is to be an honor is really to be an honor. That's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait. We're putting the plans together because, of course, we're going to see both sides. We're going to see Ireland and Scotland, so that'll be fun. Bill Nauman, how you say, buddy? Glad to see you make it on. Roy, toe up or a flat club at setup seems to be a debate going on. Actually, here's the thing. If you're setting in, if this is your lie angle at address, or this is your lie angle at address, you know what? It doesn't mean diddly. What it really matters is when you're actually swinging the club, you're bringing it down, you're bringing it through, and you're at impact, right? Because you could stand up, which would flatten the club from a. You could go, I'm getting all kinds of use out of this club. So you could stand right here, and you could stand right up, and at impact, you could be just perfect. If you started out like that and you did the same thing, you would be toe down. However, if you started like this and you're perfect and you took the standard swing, you would be really, really good. So the argument is just for argument's sake, really. The reality of it is what you do at impact dynamically. There we go. Yep, Tornado Watch is over. It's been over. That's the reason how I was stuck at work there for a while. So that's where we're at. Sunny V. Wait a minute. So how much snow did you get? My sis lives in Wisconsin, and they got like a truckload of snow, and ice. So they everybody's kind of locked in their houses for a bit. All right, Sunny V's back. Weather's showing its teeth this week. Cold and snowy here. Yeah. Had to reshaft Callaway X18. Ooh, that's an oldie but a goodie. Not what'd they start with? 12s, 10s or 12s? I think they start with 12s. A 9-iron with steel, so I had to go to the McGolf video library to refresh the technique. Good for you, dude. I just did one. Somebody brought me one too. I think it was an X20, and it wasn't a 9-iron, but it had to do the same thing. It had a broken graphite in it, and he wanted steel, so we put steel in it. Anthony Goliano. How do you say, bud? What's your recommendations for a lighter state with steel, 105 grams or less? Well, my very, very first one, Anthony, would be Nippon's 105. Why? Because I'm used to it. All right. It doesn't mean anything one way or to another. But the 105 has a profile that is firmer than, say, the 120. So if you're a guy that's a bit more late releaser, kind of into the ball, that kind of thing, you will love this 105. Now, DG makes a 105 that is very much like the old Dynamic Gold. If you like Dynamic Gold and you just want it lighter, the 105 would be the way to go. That being said, also now after talking with Mr. Braley, that all the KBS stuff is back in production, and their 105 was a very, very good replication of their 125 or 120 gram shaft as well. Those are the three that I'm very aware of, but number one would be the Nippon, number two would probably be the KBS, and number three would be the DG. That's from a preference point of view. You got to make sure it's what you like, but those are the three that I would look at. Are there any competitions that people play with vintage clubs? And the answer to that is yes, there is. It's called the Hickory Stick or the Hickory Stick League. And there's a good one for you, sis. So I don't know if you remember, but where we used to go down and visit Grandma, that college that was right there that we used to have to drive by, and then we go over the bridge before we get to Temple Terrace. That college is the home course for the Hickory U.S. Open because it's an original course that's never been changed. It's very short, and they played it with hickories back in the day, and they still go there to this day. In fact, they're playing this year. And a lot of the guys that I know from Louisville Golf and Tad Moore Golf are going, but that's where they play. Julian Ufar. All right. Hopefully I said that right. Please let me say it right. I bought a new set of shafts, DG 105 S300s from a TaylorMade 770s. I play them a half-inch short. How would you calculate swing weight for building a set using a Golf Pride Z cords? All right, Julian. So not to sound like a turd, but honestly, unless you're absolutely swing weight sensitive, I wouldn't. All right, they're going to play lighter. That's the reason why they're lighter. And why would you want them to be the exact same swing weight at something that's heavier and you didn't like? That's number one. Number two is it's going to be very, very, very close because from a 120, let's just say you're playing a 120 and 105, you're only talking about a swing weight to a swing weight and a half. Chances are you're probably not going to notice. It's going to be in your head because you've got them and you know. However, if I was to hand you one and hand you another one, you'd probably go, oh, it's a little bit light, but as far from a feel aspect, you probably wouldn't notice. So I would go with that. Now, half-inch short can be a little bit too light, particularly with Z cords, because Z cords are heavier. Now, if you want to balance them out, now there's where we start getting into playing around with swing weight. Personally, I would probably throw in at a half-inch short with that. I wouldn't go crazy because you're going to feel the weight transition. I'd put about a 6 gram weight in the end of each one. And is that going to give you the original swing weight? No, it is not. But it's going to give you a very good feel for the club because you've changed the dynamics of this club. So yeah, but you want it to feel good. And that 6 gram, you're going to notice that. All right. David Horner, yes, all-in-one putter graphite to steel tip on the front page of their website, and Cleveland putting them in their new releases. Oh. They're having trouble measuring. Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't have my phone to look it up, but I would. Yeah, they had a different name for that shaft. And, oh, pardon me, that shaft, it just didn't take off, and I don't know why. I guess everybody was looking at it, kind of gave it the side eye. And it was like, what is that? And they didn't understand if it could do better. Some guys were raving about them. Some guys couldn't like them. And I think just the mere fact that it was so different, and by the time they were releasing them, they weren't really, golfers weren't really ready for something that radical as they are now with new technologies and things like that going on. And if Cleveland's the one sending them to you, I'd call them out on it, right? Because even the big companies can make mistakes. We run into that, not often, but we do run into it and go, hey, look, man, you sent me something a little short or something a little long. And typically, if I can fix it, I will. But in some cases, it's just like, hey, just send me another one and we'll return it. And that's what happens. All right. Frugal Golf Fixer, Fixer Golf. Made a chipper from an old par ace ping copy at the Carolina PGA show. Met a man, Jake Makepeace, made the club 40 years ago. What a conversation. I can only imagine. I was looking that up. So Jack Nicklaus's golf club builder was a name called Jack Wolcott, or Wolcott, depending on how you wanted to say it. And that dude had stories for years. And you could just sit around and we could keep feeding him beer and we would find out more and more and more about what would go on, not only with Jack, but the rest of the guys with McGregor and that stuff, because it was right over here in Dayton. And oh my gosh, the stories were just a riot. And I'd like to find Mr. Nicklaus one day and just ask him about it and see if they were true or not. And because the dude was an absolute riot. He was a good man. Matt bought a set of Apex PCs in '83 from Tom Stites. Said was the hardest to hit and worst design ever. Sweet spot the size of a gnat's ass. Well, if Tom Stites said that, he's not a liar. I met Mr. Stites. He's a good guy, and he was in the Hogan company, and quite the designer on his own for sure. But and if he said it was one of those, and he was a good designer, it was unfortunate that what happened with Nike, obviously, or Nike. Yeah, but oh yeah. Passman Prime was looking forward to chili cheese dogs after the podcast today, but after seeing your ribs, the dogs aren't going to taste as good. Dude, chili cheese dogs, there's nothing wrong with those, particularly with around here in this neck of the woods, you got to throw a little bit of coleslaw on them, and then you'll be all right. Anthony Giuliano from Jersey. My dad used to own a pizza place. There you go. So the Anthony that Robin's talking about is Giuliano, without the I, and then the I goes after the A again. Giuliano, and they were from their family was out of Chicago. Have you ever met Jack Pace? No, I can't. I can't say that I have. John Powers, what do you say? Can you speak a little bit the new Stealth Driver 2 by TaylorMade? John, I would be lying to you if I told you one way or the other. I've not seen one other than pictures. And the movable weight front, toe to heel, I think is a good idea. I like movable weights. I like being able to tweak and get golfers set up using those. That I like those. That's the reason why I like the movable weight in the Paradigm and the adjustable weights when you can pull them out and put them in different ones. The Mizuno 200G, like that one as well. I think it's a great club. Yeah. I know you haven't done that in a long time. You've been letting me go. Anyway, all I know is it did really well with the My Golf Spy folks, but when it comes right down to it, Stealth's won the last 5 out of 8 or last 6 out of 8. Look, there's a hand right there. That's the Mrs. McGolf hand telling me to cut it off. All righty. Frank, there you go. Played Destin this weekend. Nice. Regatta Bay and Windswept Dunes. Both of those are on our radar, Frank. Windswept Dunes was, we went and talked to a guy at Regatta Bay, and he told us about Windswept, so they're on the radar. Just build a test club for a junior with an extension in it. If it's steel and you want it to come out, you can dimp, and you never want it to come out, you can dimple it. Yeah, that's the The dimpling, the thing with dimpling is it never really out of rounded anything, but it allowed you for more surface area contact. Dimpled spheres in the house. There we go. Unfortunately, I'm in the UK. I was going to soft step and trim and leave the 4-iron out, but we'll try your shaft extension method. There you go. I think you'd be better off for just the 1/4 inch, and you'd be good to go. Anyone watching Full Swing? You know what? I have not. I don't know why. For some reason, I don't know. I think because it has this thing with the live golf, and then this live golf thing is like the gift that never stops giving, and unfortunately, it's all been negative, and that's the tragedy of this whole thing. Everybody asks about that. Hey, what do you think about the live golf? And here's the thing. I'm never ever going to fault somebody for wanting to better themselves, particularly. What was it was a black guy that went over there, and he was going to get enough money to send generations of his family to college. How can you fault a guy thinking that way? And you can't. And I think that's grand. And I think that's a stand-up guy. However, getting ready to go in there that what the rules are. You know what the rules are when you sign that contract. You know what the rules are when you left. You knew when you left what was going to happen. Accept your decision. Accept your decision for what it's for and move on. Play the live tournament. Make all that extra money. Live by all the rules and regulations that you sign on that contract and have a day. Live up to your own expectations. You signed a contract. Live with it. To try and get your cake and eat it too, knowing before you went out there and you get after that is being spoiled. And that's not the way it should be. You guys are professional athletes. Suck it up. But again, if they wanted to offer me that kind of money to live in that kind of thing, and I knew I was going to be able to live comfortably the rest of my life, and my kids are going to be able to live comfortably the rest of my life, and my grandkids are going to be able to live comfortably the rest of their life, by God, I'd do it, right? And that'd be the end of it. And the last thing I would care is whether or not I played another round with the guys that I left, because I'm set. There you go. So that's me. All righty. Matt, how many companies would go with with a very right upright line angle to correct for a slice? Just about all of them, bud. They and then the game improvement. Now, I will say Mizuno probably does not. You will see it in TaylorMade. You'll see it in Callaway. You most likely see it in Ping. And you may see it in, I don't know if it was Wilson or not. But there's a couple out there that will really, you will see it in the Wilson one in their launch pads. You'll see it in that one. Glenn Burr, hello, sir. I think Mount Golf says adjustable bar with replacement brass jaws. There you go. Well, the brass is going to be soft, so you're going to actually replace that. If I was to buy the one with the adjustable jaws and they were brass, I'd just buy the new jaws right now so I had them in my back pocket. There you go. I'm playing the Callaway Apex 18s with recoils F4s. My question is, because I'm left-handed and you know my pain, I took a gamble on this setup. Well, the MB18s. Okay. The MB18's not bad. I mean, they're a good little shaft. And the recoils and the F4s, that's a sizable shaft. So, yeah, you can bring it around. You're okay. The newer ones, there's some new stuff out there, but from a bladed perspective, not very many. It's very hard to find those. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that's bad. All righty, Danny, Full Swing was great. What a bunch of head cases. There you go. Nice. Milner, was my question skipped? I don't know. What was the full-on question? As far as talking about working learning, no, go to Golf Galaxy. You can always, a lot of the Golf Galaxy folks, again, get trained they get trained in a program that was made by Golf Works, because they're all under the same banner. And if you take their training seriously, you can learn quite a bit. All right. Frank, I haven't hit him yet because I haven't put any grips on them. But man, I like the way they look. They're pretty sweet. The other way, Joe, to learn if you're really looking at golf clubs, and even though it's dated, Maltby has plenty of reading material, and they also have a learn at your own pace over the internet type school where they send you packages and you can do it from that way. Matt, how are you finding the face score lines on the Mizuno Forge compared to the cast ones? Well, I haven't had the S23s in here yet because they just haven't been delivered. I've ordered a bunch. I think it's cool looking. I like the S23 a lot. I think it's very, very nice. However, the raw faced forges, I think they wear just fine. It's just that they get dirty. So I did one on the denim copper for Mark, and I scraped it with my club brush, and it came right off, which was quite surprising. And then I thought, well, just like you're thinking, I took it off with the brush, and I got in there closer, and no, it was still there. And I had him hit it, and he was hitting with better spin than before. So, yeah, I think they're wearing just fine. Greg Pace, what do you say? Still, I keep having issues with an OEM Ping 410 adapter with that rubber tip. Installing it from a shaft pull keeps turning after I let it cure. Do you think I need a tip trim or reprep to get it to stick? Okay, so in a Ping OEM adapter, Greg, there's two rubber pieces. There's the piece that goes in the end, and it looks like basically like a giant rubber cone. And what you do is you shove it in there, and then you cut it off flat. All right, you cut it off flat. And that's a vibration reducer of the end to prevent glue from running up the shaft. The other piece that's rubber is the rubber ferrule that goes on top of it. It would be the piece that would go on top of here, okay? And that is a rubber ferrule that goes on there. And what you would do is you would put the rubber piece on there first, and then you would insert this on there. And what I tend to do with it is I tend to slide it back in. There is a little bit of a lip in there. So another way of getting around it so you don't have to worry about that is put it on here first. Well, get all your glue in there and make sure it's all nice and spread around so it's nice and equally covered on the inside. Put that guy in there and then work that shaft in there so it gets through there. And once you pop through, and you'll feel it, and then shove it all the way in there and then turn it and make sure that's in there. Wipe off the excess right here, right? Wipe off that excess, and then put a piece of tape a masking tape from here over that rubber ferrule so it holds it in place, and then onto the shaft, and then let it set. That's because what you're experiencing is called ferrule creep. And what I've done since day one is I put a piece of tape on there in order to stop that. All right. Herman Ohm. Game of the Paradigm Driver Iron X Fairway Woods. Awesome. Sunlight. Nice. I'm glad you like it. I think they're doing pretty good. All righty. Hit that thumbs up. All right. We're getting down to the bottom here, guys. Oh, and I'm almost a half an hour over. You got me for 2 more minutes, and we got to go. Mayor at Hogan's. Yeah. PZ. Well, I may have just come to see you do a shaft fitting. I'm very particular to get it right. A bit of a ride, though. Yeah, it is. Well, when you get down here, just let us know. My dog Rex. My uncle Ink used to own a pizza shop. My uncle Butter was an Air Force pilot. My cousin Ramcat tried MCPO. Oh, yeah. My Uncle Gimp installed golf course irrigation, all Buckeye born. There you go. Look at that. Not afraid to do anything. Master Chief Petty Officer, man, gets up that far. He is the man. He has my respect. Played them from 84, no wonder. Yeah. James Bazans, what do you say, buddy? I got my club reshafted. It's a 52 graphite shaft, and there's a rattling inside. I don't know what it is. Pardon me. I don't know what it is. Also, do you like the recoil? Yeah, I like the smack wraps. I think they're fine. The smack wraps are a good little shaft. If you've got a rattle inside your wedge, it's probably one of two things. And if it's a reshaft, you probably had some crud in there and it's broken loose and it's coming up. The other part is it could be extra glue that when you put it, some people like filling up the hosel and they put a lot of glue in there and then they put the shaft in there. What happens is when you put that shaft in there and there's a hole in the middle of the shaft, that glue it takes up the space that the hole in the middle where that shaft once was. And it fills it up. And if you play around with it long enough, it's going to break. And that's going to cause your rattle. That's probably one of the two things. All right. I actually had a longer tip inside from the previous pull. I'll try that tape. There you go. Very good. All right. It looks like look at that. I made it to the bottom and on time. It is there. All righty. 7 o'clock, guys and gals. I appreciate it so very much. I'm glad, man, this 1 hour thing has turned into an hour and a half. That is something else. All right, guys. Peter, thank you so very much for that super sticker. I appreciate it very, very much. It's really great.
It's not on time. You're 30 minutes behind.
No, I'm on time.
You're 30
I'm on time. You're making me late.
We didn't extend it.
You're making me late.
Did I extend it?
You're making me late.
Did I extend it?
You're making me late.
Did I extend it?
You're making me late. Do you see what I get? See you guys? See what I got to live with here? Anyway, so again, thank you guys so very much. Join us and watch the video. It's going to be on what is a club head. From the last time we were doing these Hogans, we talk about what the parameters are on some of the blades and what parameters are on cavity backs. So it'd be a learning kind of experience. As always, let's see your scores. Go low.